So these podcasts are pretty much evergreen. The information you're going to hear today, it's relevant today. It's relevant 10 years ago. It'll be relevant 10 years from now. So you're getting, everything that Steve and I have researched and used and know about testosterone, all our years of dealing with being in the lifestyle.
Yeah, guys. So let's talk about testosterone first, and then Rick's going to talk about the history, and we'll kind of dig into it. First off, when we're talking about testosterone, we talk about it on the forums. We're talking about it on this episode. We're talking about the synthetic exogenous testosterone that we're going to be injecting into our body. We're not talking about the testosterone that's in our body and other animals' bodies, obviously. So this is a synthetic version that we're injecting, which it mimics exactly the structure of actual testosterone that's in our body. Now, what is that testosterone that's in our body? It is a male hormone. And in males, it's going to be made by our testicles, our balls, our nut sack, whatever you want to call it. And also our adrenal glands do produce a small amount as well. It is our principal sex hormone as males, and it is anabolic in our body, and it is androgenic. Females will also produce a small amount of testosterone in their ovaries, but it's way less than what males produce. I'd say about 1/10 as much as what males produce. So if you run blood work, a normal level of testosterone in a normal healthy adult male is going to be somewhere between 300, 350 nanograms per deciliter up to about 850, 900 nanograms per deciliter. So if you're running blood work in the United States, typically those are going to be the metrics that we judge it by. So if you're lower than that, you're considered low testosterone, and that would be, that would suck, because if you're low testosterone, you're going to have a lot of negative side effects, which we're going to get into as this podcast continues. So what are the advantages of having injecting testosterone? Well, it's, like I said, anabolic and androgenic. So you're going to get all the great qualities of using a steroid, anything from more muscle, leaner and fat department. You're going to get some strength in the gym. You're going to get some nice strength in the gym. You're going to get some improved mood, especially if you're low on it. So there's a lot of benefits. We're going to dig into the benefits later, but first I want to give Rick, let him jump in and talk about the history, because it's kind of fascinating learning about the history of these compounds. Tell us a little bit about the history, Rick.
I got a pretty fascinating history here with testosterone. So around in 1889, a Harvard professor named Charles Edward Brown Socard, dude had 4 names. He extracted what he called a rejuvenating elixir from dog and guinea pig testicles. You heard that right, from dog and guinea pig testicles. The then 72-year-old professor gave himself injections of the extracted elixir, and he thought that he felt great and that he felt restored. So as far back as 1889, people that knew things knew there was already something there, and they started just injecting. Imagine that, the extract of dog testicles and guinea pig testicles, and then injecting them. That's pretty hardcore. So when scientists all over the world started hearing about this guy's experiments, they started doing their own experiments with animal testicles, trying to find the elixir of life. So in the 1890s, a 70-year-old volunteer named Jason Gamble from San Francisco was injected with a lamb testicular fluid. Okay, so the testicular fluid from a lamb. And a few days after his injection, Gamble said he felt more limber and had better digestion, had more energy. Had a objective test, also showed a significant improvement in his grip strength. This is a quote from some of my research there. So 1890, Jason Gamble, guy got injected with testicular fluid from a lamb, and felt that it improved his lifestyle, apparently. By 1927, already in University of Chicago, right, the professor of physiological chemistry, Fred C. Koch, he found a way to obtain large amounts of bull testicles. So they started trying to isolate pure testosterone out of these bull testicles. So they found a way to isolate pure testosterone, and they started testing it on roosters that had their testicles removed. So by 1935, in the Netherlands, there was a group of scientists there that were able to isolate a few pure milligrams of testosterone, and they were able to identify the hormone. It was published in a newspaper, May 1935, the article on crystalline male hormone from testicles, testosterone. And the article, they talked about it. They found it, they isolated. And from the 1930s to about the 1950s, they called it the golden age of steroid chemistry because a lot of new hormones were developed. Once testosterone was identified as this pretty simple and pretty ancient three-ring structure, automatically scientists begin manipulating the structure to get different effects from it, different effects in the human body and different interactions with the enzyme. For example, they would take the structure and change it up a little bit so that it wouldn't interact with the aromatase enzyme. Hence, it wouldn't aromatize. It would not give you any estrogen-related side effects. However, it would give you other different side effects. And from about the 1930s to the 1950s, in that 20-year span is when most of the steroids that we have today were developed, is when testosterone was identified and isolated. For many of you guys that have been around the bodybuilding world here the last 10, 15, 20 years, if you saw there was a big wave of pro-hormones that people were taking for a while and became then illegal. A lot of guys think those were new pro-hormones. They were not. Those were published in a book from the 1960s, 1950s. I mean, they were published in a book and they were discovered ages ago. And many of them had been tested and they just found no reason to continue to research them any further because maybe there were other better steroids at the time. And those were the ones that became commercialized, like your Anavar, Winstrol, your testosterone esters. And by about 1939, they had already figured out how to actually synthesize testosterone from cholesterol. So testosterone was around and people were using it from about 1939 is when it really became available. And by about 1967, the International Olympic Committee decided to ban steroids and any kind of performance enhancement in the Olympics. Now, remember John Ziegler from episode 274, John Ziegler started developing Dianabol around 1954. And by 1967, already the Olympic Committee was coming down on athletes for using performance enhancement, especially testosterone injections, especially Dianabol and some of these compounds. Now, from my research, testosterone at first was just available as base testosterone without an ester. And then just 2 or 3 years after testosterone was in the market, it became available with the propionate ester. So apparently the very first esterified testosterone was testosterone propionate. Now, talking about the history of testosterone a little bit, we have a lot of hormones that our bodies use. Hormones are basically signal carriers. And these sex hormones, these testosterone hormones that we use have been in us so far back that we share the same kind of structure with like horses and fish and other vertebrates because it's a hormone that our bodies had from way back in evolution. Now, when you compare it against something I discussed this in another podcast, human growth hormone, the human growth hormone that's in you won't have the same effect on a horse, vice versa. The horse's growth hormone won't have the same effect on you. However, your testosterone between you and the horse is interchangeable. So these are hormones that were basically developed in latter stages of our evolution, obviously, right? So that's why I would say testosterone is a pretty ancient hormone when you compare it to our version of human growth hormone, which is something we probably developed more recently in our evolution. So it's an ancient hormone as in humans, as in horses, cattle, fish. And this is why veterinary steroids that were meant to use on horses and cattle and pigs and whatever, why they work on humans so well, because it's a pretty ancient hormone that goes all the way back to our common ancestor with other vertebrates.
All right, guys. So what Rick was mentioning, the first testosterone version was testosterone base, as he said, suspension. And what it is, it's the injectable testosterone hormone in a water base. So there's no ester attached to it, and it's pure. 100 milligrams is actually 100 milligrams. It's pure testosterone. The problem with it is there's a lot of post-injection pain, and also it's only going to be in your system a very short time. But the benefit The only situation where I recommend you even touch this stuff is if you're a tested athlete, because it's going to be impossible for them to call you and say, you know what, you got to report to the lab to get tested on Tuesday. You go on Tuesday, it's not going to be in your system, even if you injected it that same day they called you. So that's what pro athletes will use to avoid detection. That's the shortest one. The next one is propionate, 2 to 3 day half-life. It is also typically strong post-injection pain, but it is oil-based. Guys who are running short cycles, guys who are competitors who want to have their system quicker, they'll finish ahead of their competition, so it's out of their system. Then you have the Omnidrin Sustanin blend, which is 4 blend all-in-one, 4 esters, 1 short, the propionate, 1 intermediate, and then 2 longer esters. You have testosterone cypionate. It's about a 10-day half-life, maybe, some, I've seen some as low as 8, some as high as 11 or 12. Just depends on who you want to believe, but it's a very smooth injection. It's what is used in the United States for testosterone replacement therapy, hormone replacement therapy typically. In Britain, they like to use the Sustanin, and in East Europe, they like to use the Omnidrin. Another one that's used in the United States for long-term, HRT or TRT is testosterone enanthate, and that half-life is similar to cypionate. It's somewhere between 10 and 12 days. And again, it's very smooth, has long esters, so you can inject it once a week, no problem. You also have the testosterone phenylpropionate, which has a half-life of about 4 days, 3 to 4 days. You've got the isocaprate, which has a half-life of about 7 days, about 6 or 7 days. And then you have the long decanate ester, which is 12 to 14 days. That one is really good if you're on long-term TRT or HRT, if you're cruising. And then you have the undecanate, which is a really, really long half-life. It exceeds 2 weeks. And that one you only have to inject maybe once every 2 or 3 weeks, because that one is a super, super long ester. So, quickly, what do I recommend if you're running a short 6 to 8 week cycle? Go with the propionate. It's in your system, peaking quicker. It hits quicker. It's out of your system quicker. If you're running a normal 12, maybe 14-week cycle, go with the SIP or the enanthate ester. If you're running TRT, HRT, go with the long esters, guys. Go with the decanate or undecanate.